Imagine being just 9 years old, playing outside like any normal kid, and suddenly, you see something so bizarre, so otherworldly, that it changes the course of your life forever. This isn't a movie. This isn't a campfire story. This is a real case from 1977. A small-town boy, a hovering craft, missing time, and now, decades later, this long-buried alien encounter is making waves again. So, what really happened to little Johnny in Harrah, Oklahoma? And why are UFO researchers suddenly paying attention to this forgotten case? Grab your tinfoil hat, hit that like button for the algorithm gods, and let's jump into one of the creepiest childhood alien abduction stories you've never heard of. Part 1. The day it happened, it's October 27th, 1977. Disco is dominating the charts. Star Wars just hit theaters. And America? Deep in UFO mania. This was the golden era of alien sightings. Roswell was folklore, but Project Blue Book had only just wrapped in 1969. People were looking up, and what they saw often couldn't be explained. Now, picture this. Johnny, age 9, is playing in his backyard in Harrah, Oklahoma, a quiet town, rural, mostly farmland. He's close to the woods. His parents are inside. It's just before dusk. Suddenly, he sees it, a metallic object, maybe the size of a car, hovering silently over the nearby field. No noise, no flashing lights, just stillness. That eerie, stomach-turning kind of stillness. And then, zap, it descends. Johnny bolts. But before he can make it back to his house, he blacks out. Part 2. Missing time and trauma. Hours pass. When Johnny finally comes to, he's lying face down in the same field, clothes dirty, face scratched, totally disoriented. His family had been searching. He stumbles home, barely able to speak. And when they ask him what happened, all he says is, "The light took me." Now here's where it gets extra strange. Around that same time, several residents in the town, including a police officer, reported seeing lights in the sky. One local even claimed their dog went missing that night, only to return the next day, acting terrified and refusing to go near the woods again. Coincidence? Or was something happening in Harrah that night that no one could explain? And let's pause for a moment. If this were your kid, what would you think? Would you believe him? Or brush it off as a wild imagination? Drop your take in the comments. Parents, especially, I want to hear your thoughts. Part 3. The lost years after the incident. Johnny went quiet. He stopped playing outside. He started wetting the bed again. He'd wake up screaming about eyes in the ceiling and the floating room. His parents tried therapy, church, you name it, but nothing helped. The event was pushed under the rug. No one wanted to talk about UFOs back then, especially not in small-town America. You were either a lunatic or a liar. It wasn't until years later, as an adult, that Johnny finally agreed to hypnosis. What came out during those sessions? Terrifying detail. He described a cold, white room, tall, skinny beings, long fingers, huge, black eyes, no mouths, no emotion, just cold curiosity. He remembered being touched, examined, and hearing a voice in his mind say, "You will not remember yet." Chills. And if this sounds familiar, it should. This exact description matches hundreds of other alien abduction reports across the globe. Which brings us to Part 4. Strange connections. Here's where the rabbit hole deepens. Just weeks before Johnny's encounter, another famous case occurred. The Pascagoula abduction in Mississippi. 2 shipyard workers, Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson, claimed they were taken aboard a craft by bizarre creatures with crab-like arms. The media erupted. They even passed lie detector tests. That was just weeks before Johnny's experience. And then, years later, actress Fran Drescher, yes, the nanny, claimed she had a similar alien abduction experience as a child. She even said she had a small scar she couldn't explain, and so did her husband, in the same spot. Is there a pattern here? Are certain people being tagged or tracked? Some researchers believe children are often chosen for abduction because they're more impressionable and easier to erase memories from. Creeped out yet? Yeah, me too. Part 5. The cover-up theory. Let's talk conspiracy. During the late 70s, there were whispers that the U.S. government was running secret UFO monitoring programs, even after Project Blue Book closed. Could Johnny's encounter have triggered a silent investigation? Some believe his town was actually surveyed by Air Force intelligence officers, and not just for weather balloons, if you catch my drift. In a now classified memo, one officer mentioned an unusual concentration of aerial anomalies over Oklahoma airspace. Here's a thought. What if the government knows exactly what happened to Johnny but buried it to avoid national panic? And it's not just this case. Even celebrities like Demi Lovato, Post Malone, and Kesha have openly talked about UFO sightings and otherworldly experiences. So, are these just random stories or puzzle pieces in a much bigger picture? Part 6. Where is Johnny now? In a 2019 interview on a Fringe podcast, a man claiming to be Johnny spoke under an alias. His voice cracked as he talked about the memories, still vivid, still haunting. He claimed the beings still visit him in his dreams. And get this, he believes they may have implanted something in him as a child. A tiny lump behind his ear that no doctor has ever been able to identify. He refused to give his full name, said he's tired of being called crazy. But he also said he wanted people to know they're real, and they don't care if you believe in them. Let that sink in. OUTRO plus CTA 26:00, 30:00. So, what really happened in Harrah, Oklahoma, in 1977? Was Johnny the victim of an elaborate hoax, a misunderstood psychological episode, or something much more? One thing's for sure. These stories are becoming harder and harder to ignore. And with the government finally admitting to UAPs, that's the new term for UFOs, by the way, it feels like we're closer than ever to the truth. But maybe, just maybe, the truth was never out there. Maybe it's been right in front of us all along. What do you think? Do you believe Johnny's story? Have you, or someone you know, ever seen something that couldn't be explained? Tell me in the comments. I want to read every wild theory and strange experience you've got. Backhand index pointing right, smash that like button if this gave you goosebumps. Backhand index pointing right, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because you do not want to miss what we've got coming next. Until then, stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep your eyes on the sky.